Smith didn't just defend Shedeur Sanders. He went off, called out the haters, the doubters, the analysts who wrote him off, the fans who tweeted trash, the scouts who saw his last name and assumed it was all nepotism. Smith had time, and he wasn't pulling punches. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. Shedeur Sanders ain't just some kid with hype and a famous father. He's the real deal. He's earned this. Stop acting like he didn't snatch that first team spot with his play. You don't walk into an NFL locker room and take over unless you're that dude. Cue the fireworks. Cue the chaos. Cue every sports podcast in the country scrambling to change their takes before Sunday. Because like it or not, Shedeur Sanders didn't just make the Cleveland Browns first team. He just made the league look different. And the people who told you he'd need time to adjust, they're sweating. Because this isn't supposed to happen. Fifth-round quarterbacks are supposed to disappear into the shadows. Learn. Sit. Wait for a veteran to twist an ankle or flame out. But Shedeur, he didn't wait for permission. He walked into that facility with swagger, earned every rep, and won the job outright. And now, he's QB1. But let's rewind for a second, because this wasn't just about a strong arm or a few clean practices. This was a takeover. From day one of camp, insiders were leaking details like it was a Marvel trailer. Shedeur looks sharp. He's leading like a vet, poise off the charts. Offense is responding to him. Meanwhile, other rookies were tripping over play calls and trying to learn which direction the locker room exits. Shedeur? He was installing himself as the centerpiece of a franchise. And let's be real, this wasn't what the Browns expected. When they took him in the 5th round, it was like, nice value pick. Maybe a project. A long-term play. But a starter? Already? Nobody saw that coming. Except Shedeur. He knew. He always knew. Because here's the difference between him and every other rookie quarterback. Shedeur Sanders didn't walk into the NFL trying to make it. He walked in like he already had. And that's exactly what makes people so uncomfortable. He's not doing the typical quiet, wide-eyed, happy to be here routine. He's doing interviews with confidence, leading teammates twice his age, dropping dimes on post routes and then hopping on Instagram like, cool, see y'all tomorrow. And the scary part? He hasn't even played a regular season game yet. So imagine what happens when the lights come on. Imagine that first Sunday, that first drive, that first touchdown pass. Imagine the camera panning to his face as the stadium erupts and he just smirks. That same calm, borderline cocky look like, y'all surprised? I'm not. Because this is what he was built for. Not just by talent, but by upbringing. When your dad is Deion Sanders, a man who practically invented modern sports charisma, you don't grow up hoping for the spotlight. You grow up owning it. And yet, that's exactly why people doubted Shedeur. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the coded language, the subtle digs, the pre-draft whispers. Is he too flashy? Too confident? Too attached to the brand? Translation, he doesn't fit the mold. And what is that mold? It's a quarterback who says the right things and never steps outside the lines, who keeps their head down, who lets the media paint the picture for them. That's not Shedeur. He paints his own. And the NFL is just now realizing what that means. Because the media can't control this narrative. The scouts can't flatten it into a spreadsheet. The haters can't meme it away. He's already won too many people over. Teammates? They love him. Coaches? They trust him. Fans? They're buying his jersey faster than anyone expected. The dude hasn't thrown a single pass that counts and already feels like a franchise face. That's not hype. That's presence. That's what Stephen A. was screaming about. It wasn't just about a quarterback making a roster. It was about who made the roster and how he did it. Because for so long, people assumed if your dad was famous and your followers and flair, you couldn't possibly have grit. You couldn't possibly be the one staying late at film sessions, mastering coverages, building chemistry. But Shedeur, he's doing both. He's the kid who shows up dripped out, makes eye contact with the cameras, then goes and throws 30-yard lasers across the middle like it's a warm-up. That's the new standard. That's the new quarterback. And here's where it gets even crazier. Shedeur might be just the beginning. What happens when he succeeds? When he puts up numbers? Wins games? Leads fourth-quarter comebacks? What happens when he starts trending every Sunday, not just for his performance, but for his style, his interviews, his aura? You know what happens. The league starts to shift. Scouts start looking for the next Shedeur. Teams start realizing that leadership isn't about how quiet you are. It's about how you make people feel, about command, confidence, control. And young quarterbacks watching at home, they start to believe they can show up as themselves and still lead. Not a robot, not a media puppet, a personality. That's the real revolution happening here. It's not about just one quarterback making the first team. It's about a new era of quarterbacks breaking through the ceiling and leaving the old playbook behind. But make no mistake, the pressure is only going to grow. The expectations will skyrocket. The defenses will get nastier. The critics will circle every pick like vultures with blue check marks. And yet, if there's one player who won't flinch, it's Shedeur, because he's been waiting for this. Not to prove the haters wrong, but to prove himself right, to show that you can win without shrinking, to lead without losing your voice, to break in without breaking character. And honestly, he already has. So now the stage is set. The stakes are real. And Shedeur Sanders, first-team quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, is about to take his first real snaps under center. You feel that? That's not just anticipation. That's the future. So now it's your turn. Do you believe in Shedeur Sanders? Is he the real deal? Or are we watching the rise of a media darling who'll get humble fast? Is this a culture shift or just a good camp story? Let's talk about it in the comments. Drop your takes, your predictions, your wildest Shedeur hot takes, because this one's got layers. And if you want more football drama, more quarterback chaos, and more reality TV level sports narratives, subscribe. Stick around. The Shedeur era has officially begun. And something tells me this is just the first chapter. This isn't just a sports story. It's not just about stats, depth charts, or preseason buzz. This is a living, breathing drama unfolding in real time. A quarterback narrative with the energy of a Netflix original and the stakes of legacy on the line. We're not watching a career launch. We're watching a cultural collision. Shedeur Sanders versus the NFL machine. Old school ideals versus new age confidence. Systemic expectations versus unapologetic individuality. And right now, Shedeur is winning. Let's talk about what this actually means, because the first team title doesn't just land you in the starting lineup. It catapults you into a completely different arena. You're not the backup anymore. You're not the rookie with potential. You're not a feel-good story. You're the guy, the face, the one with the ball in your hands when things go wrong and everyone's screaming from the stands. You're not chasing the pressure. You are the pressure. And Shedeur, he's eating that pressure like it's a pre-game snack. Because here's what no one's really saying out loud. This entire league has been hoping Shedeur would need more time to develop, more time to adjust, more time for everyone else to stay comfortable in their assumptions. Because let's not pretend this isn't making people nervous. Let's not pretend this doesn't feel threatening to the status quo. Because Shedeur didn't come up through the usual channels. He wasn't bred in a media-free college system, tucked away in a sleepy football town, groomed by conservative coordinators. He came through the eye of a cultural hurricane, Coach Prime's son. Media attention? He's had it since high school. National criticism? Check. Skeptical scouts? Plenty. Unfair comparisons? Since day one. And yet, he kept showing up every game, every interview, every practice, with that same unwavering calm. That slow head nod, that I've been here before energy that you can't fake. He's not shocked by the spotlight. He's aligned with it. And that's why this moment feels different. Because we've seen quarterbacks earn starting jobs before. We've seen rookies rise. We've seen surprises in camp. But we haven't seen this. We haven't seen a quarterback defy the system from inside the system. We haven't seen someone rewrite his own scouting report live under constant scrutiny, with a social media magnifying glass in his face and 30 teams secretly hoping he flames out, so they can say, "Told you so." And still he rose. Still he studied harder, threw cleaner, led louder. He didn't just win the job. He took it. And the Browns? For once, they didn't get in their own way. They handed him the keys. Because what do you do when someone shows up, outworks everyone, reads faster, throws better, leads cleaner, and walks with the quiet arrogance of someone who already knows what they're capable of? You don't bench that. You don't ease that in. You start it. And that's exactly what they did. So now we enter the danger zone. Now the real story begins. Because once you make first team, the honeymoon ends. Now the pressure is real. Now the defenders are really watching tape. Now the media is circling like sharks, just waiting for that one bad throw, that first fumble, that first loss. And when it comes, because it will come, that's when we'll see who Shedeur really is. And if everything we've seen so far is any indication, he won't fold. He won't spiral. He'll shrug, smirk, fix it, and come back sharper the next drive. Because this isn't just a job for him, it's a statement. He's not just playing football. He's playing chess, while the rest of the league is still asking if the pieces even belong to him. And here's what should scare every other team in the league. He hasn't even reached his ceiling. This is rookie Shedeur, learning the pro game, still adjusting, still adapting. So what happens when he gets comfortable? What happens when he has a full season under his belt? What happens when he starts calling audibles with the same confidence? He calls out media narratives. He becomes uncontainable. And that's when this thing goes nuclear. Because Shedeur isn't just built for the game. He's built for this era. The media-savvy era. The brand-driven era. The dual-threat era. Not just on the field, but in the culture. He's not the next Tom Brady. He's not the next Patrick Mahomes. He's not the next Lamar Jackson. He's the first Shedeur Sanders. And that's the point. And it's not just the football world watching anymore. It's the youth. The next generation of quarterbacks who don't want to choose between performance and personality. Who don't want to mute themselves to make a depth chart. Who don't want to conform to outdated molds in order to be taken seriously. They're watching this unfold. They're seeing the blueprint. And they're realizing you can show up as your whole self and still get the job. Still lead. Still win. That's the real legacy Shedeur is starting to build. Not just as a player, but as a permission slip. Permission to be confident without being labeled arrogant. Permission to be flashy without being dismissed as unserious. Permission to speak your truth, run your team, and command your space with zero apology. And look, we know how this league works. They're not going to roll over and embrace the change overnight. There will be critics. There will be pushback. There will be articles dissecting his every move. Analysts questioning his focus. Commenters nitpicking his outfits, his tone, his interviews. But you know what? Let them talk. Because Shedeur doesn't need to win their approval. He just needs to keep winning drives. Keep winning games. Keep showing up like he has since day one. Calm, collected, calculated, and always one play ahead. And if he keeps doing that, if he keeps playing like this, then forget just making first team. We're talking Pro Bowl, playoffs, maybe even, dare we say it, an MVP conversation down the line. Yeah, it's early, but the energy is real, and you feel it, too. That sense that something bigger is happening here. That we're not just watching a player step on the field, but a moment stepping into history. So whether you're rooting for him or waiting for fall, you're watching. We all are. And that's the thing about Shedeur Sanders. He doesn't just play the game. He takes over the room. And now, the room is the NFL. So sit tight, lock in, because the Shedeur era has arrived, and it's moving fast. This isn't just about football anymore. It's not even just about legacy. What's unfolding here is something rare, a cultural inflection point dressed up as a quarterback controversy. A moment where everything you thought you knew about how the NFL works gets turned completely upside down. And at the center of it, a 22-year-old quarterback with diamonds on his wrist, a Heisman-level chip on his shoulder, and the playbook memorized like scripture. Let's stop and appreciate what's happening here. Because you and I both know the NFL doesn't hand over first-team reps to anyone, let alone a fifth-round pick who came into the league wearing more expectation than a Super Bowl favorite. And still, Shedeur walked into that building like he owned it. Not arrogant, not entitled, certain. There's a difference. And that certainty, it's shaking the table. Because what Shedeur is doing isn't just making the Browns reconsider their depth chart. It's making an entire league reconsider its philosophy. For years, we've been fed this idea that quarterbacks have to be molded, that leadership has to look a certain way, that media presence is a distraction, that swag is a liability, and that paying your dues is some sacred rite of passage that all greats must suffer through. But what if that's not true? What if the entire narrative, this whole ancient formula of clipboard-holding apprenticeships and robotic interviews, is just a story the NFL told itself for decades because it was safe? And what if Shedeur Sanders is proof that it was always a lie? Because if you look closely, what Shedeur has done in a few short months is not just throw a nice ball or lead a solid practice. He's rewritten the code. He's shown that you can walk in a room with charisma, media attention, and a camera crew and still command respect in the film room. That you can care about brand and blitzes. That you can flash your chain and read a safety rotation like a seasoned vet. And to be honest, the league doesn't know what to do with that yet. They're watching this unfold like it's a glitch in the Matrix. Because all their old excuses, all their tired, let's wait and see analysis, is crumbling. They said he was just a social media star. Now he's running an NFL offense. They said he needed time to mature. Now grown men are looking to him in the huddle. They said he wasn't ready. Now he's starting. And if you think this is just about performance in camp, you're missing the point. This is a vibe shift, a narrative correction, a full-on paradigm snap that we've never quite seen at this level, at this speed. Because Shedeur didn't beg for the spotlight. He walked into it, and now it's following him. But here's the other thing we have to acknowledge, the risk. Because with every first-team snap he takes, the microscope zooms in, the takes get hotter, the stakes get higher, the grace period evaporates. There is zero room for error when the system wants to be right about you. And Shedeur, he knows that. That's why every rep is so clean. Every read is so sharp. Every move feels deliberate. Because he understands the weight of it all. The name, the legacy, the scrutiny, the moment. And he's not just handling it, he's owning it. That's rare. That's what makes this different. We've seen guys come in with swagger. We've seen players trend on draft night, make some noise in camp, and fade out by week 4. But this feels sustainable. Why? Because it's rooted in more than flash. It's backed by a football mind that's been trained for this exact moment since before he could drive. Deion didn't just raise an athlete. He raised a student of the game. And that's what you see when Shedeur steps on the field. Not just confidence, but clarity. Not just fire, but focus. And when you put those together, you get a quarterback who can actually change a franchise. Which brings us back to Cleveland. Yes, that Cleveland. A city where quarterback careers go to die. A team that has had more QB jersey changes than most teams have playoff wins. A franchise that was about the joke for over a decade. And now, suddenly, they might have their guy. Let that sink in. Shedeur Sanders, a fifth-rounder with camera crew, custom cleats, and the most famous dad in football, might be the answer the Browns have been chasing since before social media even existed. That's not just poetic. That's ridiculous. But also kind of perfect, because that's the Shedeur Sanders effect. Everything about this feels like it shouldn't work. The noise, the name, the expectations, the non-traditional path, the social media presence, the optics, and yet it is working. It's not just hype, it's happening. And here's where it gets scary for the rest of the league. What if Shedeur succeeds? Like, not just holds a job, but flourishes in it? What if he wins games, stays consistent, leads the Browns to a playoff berth for the first time since TikTok was just a sound your watch made? You think the NFL is ready for that? You think the sports world is ready for a quarterback who's already built for the spotlight to earn it, keep it, and expand it? Because here's the thing. Shedeur isn't just trying to fit in to the NFL. He's trying to redefine what it means to be the face of a team. And whether you're rooting for him or hate watching every move, you can't deny it anymore. This is bigger than football. This is about who gets to lead, how they're allowed to lead, and whether the old system can survive in the face of a new era that looks, talks, walks, and wins differently. And Shedeur, he's not asking for your permission to exist. He's just making plays. So yeah, Stephen A. Smith was right to yell. He should be yelling, because what we're watching right now is not normal. It's a rebellion in cleats, a revolution in real time. And if Shedeur keeps doing what he's doing, if he makes it through the noise, the pressure, the resistance, then we're not just watching a great rookie season. We're watching a turning point, a new era, a quarterback story that your kids will read about one day. Not because of the stats, though those will come, but because of the statement. You can lead your way. You can succeed your way. You can be loud and still be brilliant. And maybe most importantly, you can be Shedeur Sanders, and you can win. This isn't just about proving people wrong. It's about proving that you don't have to play small to be taken seriously. It's about reclaiming the quarterback archetype from the grip of tradition, from the ghost of what's always worked, from that tired idea that greatness has to come from silence and humility and a slow, calculated rise through the ranks. Because let's be honest, when you're Shedeur Sanders, the spotlight isn't optional. It follows you, and you can either run from it or run it. He's choosing the latter, and doing it with so much poise. It's honestly uncomfortable for people who only know how to root for the underdog after he's been humbled. But Shedeur isn't interested in that storyline. He's not here to eat dirt and smile through it just to win over people who decided they didn't like him before he even took a snap. He's not here to apologize for his confidence, his family, or the fact that he doesn't want to blend in just to keep people comfortable. He's here to win. And you know what's beautiful? He's doing it without compromising a damn thing. That's why people can't stop watching. Because deep down, even the skeptics recognize what this is. It's the birth of a quarterback who's not just going to lead drives. He's going to lead change. He's not just calling audibles on the field. He's calling audibles on how the position is played, who gets to play it their way, and why swagger and substance don't have to live on opposite ends of spectrum. He's forcing people to reconsider the rules, to rewire their expectations. And whether they're ready or not, he's already out the tunnel, pads on, helmet strapped, about to take that first real snap. And when that moment comes, when Shedeur Sanders steps under center, with the world watching, waiting for him to crack under the weight of it all, he won't, because this moment was never too big for him. The moment was just finally ready for him. So settle in, light up the group chats, bookmark the receipts, because the Shedeur Sanders era, it's not coming. It's here. And if you thought this story peaked when he made first team, just wait. The real show starts on game day. Let's ride.